You want to talk about, what is it called? You want to talk about ascension. But here's your problem with these words, these flash words, these hippie words, these fake paradigms. Now, you know, this is going to be planet Earth. Here you are, Jane. And here you are, John, right? Jane, John, whatever. Now, we're going to make the sign of the sun because the sun is the most important thing that we're going to be talking about. So, here you are, Earth. Okay? Now, somewhere on Facebook, someone starts spewing a bunch of New Age mumbo jumbo. Okay? So, what does that leave you with? Well, that means that you are now thinking that these words are cool. Because these words sound great. They sound, special. They sound, well, they just sound like you're now, separate from here. Okay? That's what these words do. If Jane is supposedly ascending, that means that Jane and John are two different people. That Jane, technically by most people's standards, Jane is now in her own little bubble. Jane is now special. Jane is now super unique. Why? Because we hear about things like 144,000 doing this. Okay? Well, this is all wrong because this. What's happening when people use these catchphrases, and the reason I don't like these catchphrases, is suddenly, because of separation, we have this nice little word called, okay? So Jane, who's now ascending, who's no longer like John, is now fully embracing without even realizing what she's doing. Because of Facebook mumbo jumbo by somebody who may or may not be, fully prepared to tell you stuff. So I get tired of things like, Facebook mumbo jumbo, and this is why you'll see me on my posts get mad at people for saying that they're ascending, get mad at people for saying they're doing something. Because what it comes back to is you're not doing anything. Which is the whole point of this whole thing. Now, we're going to erase this. So you're not doing anything because this is where we are, okay? So we're on Earth. We are not going anywhere until we die, right? So I'm hoping you guys can see this stuff. Maybe not. Let's see here. Wish I could zoom that in. That's okay, I'll figure out zoom later. So, until this happens, you're still bound here, right? So let's talk about the one thing that has eluded me for years. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the symbol of the sun in astrology. So, there's two layers to this. There's the first layer, which is where, Jane now thinks that she is separate from everyone else. Because she's, ascending, but Jane's not dead, so Jane still has to live in the physical. So that means that Jane is working here in what we term ego. Because Jane has now decided that she is no longer, part of humanity, she's now something special. Why? Because by the very need to define what Jane is doing, Jane is working from here. Now, there's nothing wrong with your ego, because your ego is who you are. Your ego is, Jane, Jason, Mark. That's your ego. That also fits in here, which is the sun. Now, when we start to, take away from ego, when we stop defining, things, we just kind of live, right? Now the beauty of this symbol, though, is that this is pure consciousness. Now, if we start using this as a meditation point, we get into the second layer. So, because if you notice, the way this symbol works is, let's see, well, first there's Earth, right? So there's Earth, that's a physical version. And there's space, that's another version. And there's astral. And then we have pure light. So, that's all housed within the circle, because this circle represents no end. Right? The circle represents infinity. So, even when you claim that you're going to ascend, well, you're not really going very far, because the minute this happens, you're still here. So you're still here. This hasn't changed. Now, the whole thing is that if you start meditating on the sun, if you start meditating on this symbol, which is, again, let's just go back here, pure consciousness, you will move past the first layer and then get into the second layer. And that is what we should be working on if we're going to be twin flames, if we're going to be light workers, if we're going to claim that we are something special, something unique, something that we bring to the earth, which everybody can have. Well, you need to get in here, where did it go? Whoops. Because this, my friends, is a very tricky thought. Everybody thinks they're getting away from that, but that is what's happening every time you're alive. Every time you're alive, there's a new version of that. Sometimes it's more flexible, sometimes it's more rigid, but all the time that you're down here, this exists until you hit this part. So you see, as long as you're alive, ego is in place, and even when you die, ego still remains. Now, this changes upon death, so we'll get into that on another day, but right now what we really need to be focusing on is what our consciousness is. How pure is it? How focused is it? And really, is it, here? Or are we getting here? The point of who cares? The point of I'm okay, you're okay, the world's okay. These are the things we need to ask ourselves. Because these are the things that if you're going to, find your soulmate, if you're going to find your twin flame, if it's going to work out at the level and journey that you are, these are the things that are necessary to finding that journey.